So the next step is to cut out our Shopkins pictures for our shopping list, so we can glue these or tape these to the backs of our display. So you could do this, you know, the easiest way is probably just scissors, and you can cut them out. Now there are light gray lines on here, so I think you can see that, and I didn't want to make them too dark, but so they're on there and you can just cut right on the line. And this is the sweet treats category. So let me cut out another set of the 9-inch long strips, and then I'll cut out a set of the 8-inch long, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have our Shopkins cut out. Here's the sweet treat category. Here is the bakery category, and then here is my favorite, the stationery category. So what we want to do now is put our decorative paper all around our display. So for the stationery, I'm going to turn this into the stationery display. I'm going to use this blue paper because I think it's really pretty. So all we have to do is cut out a 1-inch strip for the front, a 1-inch strip for the top, another 1-inch strip for the top, and then a 2-inch strip for the back here. And then we're going to also cut 2 side pieces. So let me cut this out. Okay, so we have our strips cut, and now it's time to glue them on. Now before I glue them on or tape them on, I'm going to tape them. I like to cut them down a little, but I'm going to keep them oversized. Can you see that? Oops. So we can trim them afterwards. I just think that makes it easier, so you don't have to be so perfect when you place them on there. So just cut them just a little oversized. Okay. So I'm going to use the fabric tape for this part. And what we're going to just do is probably put the fabric tape on the styrofoam. I think that would make it a little easier. Just like that. And then cut it with our scissors. And you can actually do this whole thing all at once. You can put the tape on the top, and then you can put the tape right there. And I'll put more tape here. Two more strips of tape. Got that one a little crooked. That's okay. I should turn this around, make it easier. I'll put another one right here. Okay, so we have our tape on there now. And actually, I just realized this should be just a 1-inch strip because our stationery strip is going to go right here, like that. So let me cut this down to 1 inch. So the hardest part about this tape is finding the edge of the liner and peeling it back. So, but it's not too hard. So there is our liner. And peel it back, and then we take our paper, line it up with the bottom, and then just stick it on, and then push it down. And I'll start and do the next one. Okay, so there's our liner, and then we'll just take our paper, and, oops, set it this way, and put our paper on there. Now we're going to put paper on the front, the bottom front edge, and then the top edge. This is where our Shopkins will sit. We're not going to put paper on here. We're going to put our Shopkins list here. we're going to put paper here, and then we're going to put paper at the top. So let me put, okay, so there's the top, and we'll put paper right there. Our paper now on the front and the top, and then the top of the back. So the Shopkins lists are going to go right here and right here. So let's trim off this excess paper, and you can just use the scissors to do that. Okay, so there is the paper on the front of our stand. Now let's put our Shopkins list on there. And we're going to peel the liner back. The purple's still a stapler at the bottom, so let me turn this around. It's a little easier to work with. And I'll just line it up. And I'll just push it right down. Just like that. Now let's do the top one. And just do the same thing, just line them up. And then push them down. Perfect, so we're almost done with our display. And see, as you can see here, I think that looks pretty cool, just square at the top. It doesn't have to be fancy or have some crazy design or anything. I think that looks great. So now we just need to put some paper on the sides. And how I do that, I'll show you. It's very easy. I just take our paper and I turn it upside down, and I just line up like maybe one of the edges or something, and then I line up the bottom, and then I just trace it with a pencil just like this. And there it is, and then I just cut it out. And then that piece will fit right on the side, just like that. So let's put a little tape on there and then stick it on. Now you don't have to have tape like on every single surface. So I put a piece here, I put a little piece here, and just a little piece at the top. That should be plenty to hold the side on. So then we find our liner strip and peel that away. Helps if you have nails. My nails are pretty short, so it's hard to find that liner. There we go. Like that, and then we just grab our little piece that we cut out, we line it up and stick it on, and we've got a side done. How cool is that? So let me do the other side. It's the exact same way, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're all finished. So here is our stationery display all finished, and I think it looks really great. Here are both sides are covered with the paper, and I think it looks just super cute and totally awesome and ready for your Shopkins. And they will sit right on here, right in front of the picture. And that is how you build one of these single-sided displays. So decorating our double-sided display is basically the exact same thing. You just put your tape and your paper on and your Shopkins list, just like we did on the single-sided display. I'm not going to do this entire both sides of this display, but I am going to demonstrate how to do this and use the hot glue gun, because it's a little bit different. I mean, it's pretty much the same, But if that's the way you wanted to put it together, I'll show you how to do that. So let's get going, and let's put the bakery section on this one. So I'm going to use this really bright shiny pink to decorate the bakery section. So I'm going to cut out my strips, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so I have all my strips cut out. Now we are going to start gluing them on, and again I cut them just a little bit longer than the stand. So let's start, and again we have to be fairly quick with this process. So I'm going to start with my hot glue gun. I'm going to put the glue on the display. And you don't need a ton of it. I think this is probably overkill, what I'm doing here. And you have to be careful now of glue squirting out from the sides. So we're going to line up the bottom edge, I think, and then gently kind of push it on there. But this is going to be hot, right? So I got a little glue on my finger, but this is really hot. So what I like to do is take a little scrap of the styrofoam and use it as a little push block. So you can kind of push down your paper into the glue without burning your fingers. You can use this as a little push block. And then there we go, we got one on there. Now this is still going to be warm, but we can proceed to the next stage here. We can go on the next one. So let's get the glue gun again, and then squeeze on some glue. And you can stay away kind of from the very edges, because the glue is going to kind of squirt out. And if you stay away from the edges, that'll help keep the glue kind of where you want it. And then we put our second strip on. Just like that. And I'm barely kind of pushing it down, and then I use my block to kind of push the paper into the glue. Now again, this is a little bit thicker, like I mentioned before. This is kind of like a poster board. If you were using a thinner paper, I would definitely recommend using the double-sided tape way, because the glue is going to really kind of crinkle up any really thin paper. So okay, we got that done. And now let's go ahead and put our third one on right here. Okay, just gently push it down and then grab my little block. Okay, so we got 3 of our sides on. Now let's put our final strip on. And what you could do is you could cut it beforehand if you wanted to, or you could glue it on and then trim it from the back side, which might be a little more difficult. So let's try this. Let me show you another way we can do it. Let's take a little bit of tape. I'm just going to put tape on here where it's going to go, or I'm going to glue it. Just like that. And now on the back side we can kind of trace. I'll show you, we can trace our design. Like that. You can take the tape off. And now we have lines, so we can cut this out. And of course you can cut it with the scissors or the knife. And another little tip, you could cut and leave a little bit of the lines showing, and that way you know your paper is going to overlap the foam board enough. So I'm going to just leave a a little bit of the line show. Okay, just like that. Okay, we can, test fit it again if we want. But that's ready to go. So let's glue it on there. We have our line to kind of guide us. So gently push down with your fingers, and then I'll kind of lightly just tap it with my block. And then when it's dry, then we can cut all the excess from the sides. Oh, geez. I glued it on the wrong side. Uh-oh. Oh, man. I wasn't paying attention. Well, instead of trying to pull it off, because it's never going to come off, it's going to rip and be a big old mess, I'm just going to cut another strip. Whoopsie daisy. It happens to the best of us. We're not paying attention and we make a mistake. I have made many mistakes like that. But it's easily fixed. So actually, I'm glad I messed that up because I wanted to show you something else. Here is a piece of that gold paper, and I wanted to just tell you, you don't have to put the same paper on your whole entire stand. You can mix it up. You can put different colors on each level. You can do anything you want. So I think I'm going to glue the gold on there and just leave it square at the top. I think that'll look really cool. So let me grab my gun and put some glue on. Just like that. Grab our gold paper and push it on there. Kind of push it down with the foam block. And there we go. So now it's time to put on our Shopkins list. So again, we're going to do it the exact same way. We're just going to put a little glue on there and then push this down. And again, that's another good reason to print this out on a little bit heavier than normal paper. So let's run our glue. Just like that. Grab our list and stick it on there. And then use our little block. And another thing that's nice is with the thinner paper, you can use the block and the flat edge, and it kind of evens out the glue instead of getting like a bunch of like finger marks or something in the paper, or crinkles or creases. The block is a really helpful little tool. So there we go. We got one of our lists on. Let's put the other one on. So there we go. Now all we have to do is trim the edges and cut out the side piece. So I'm going to trim the edges and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the edges all trimmed. Now all we have to do is put on our side piece. And it's basically the exact same way. I liked that gold so much, I'm going to use the gold and put it on one side. Now what I did for my double-sided displays, I put, like I'll show you here, on the homewares I had this silver. So I put the silver on one side, and the other side I had this cool rainbow pattern, so I put that on the other side. So, I mean, you could do whatever you want. I just thought that was kind of a cool way to do it. So I'm going to put the gold on this side. So I just turn this over, just stick it on there. I line up maybe one edge that's flat, like the bottom edge, and then I just trace it. just like that. And it's not very pretty, but I mean, you can kind of clean it up with the scissors a little bit. And this is kind of where the hot glue comes in handy, because we have a couple different surfaces here. It's not exactly totally flat. So the hot glue gun is actually kind of beneficial in this instance. We can just kind of squeeze out our glue. And then stick our little end cap on there. Again, be careful of the glue squirting out on your fingers because it's hot. And then grab our little block, kind of push it on. And just like that, we've got our side on there. So I think that looks pretty awesome. And remember, you can put any color you want. You can put 3 different colors. You can do anything you want with these little stands as far as the decorating goes. So, you know, don't worry. Let your imagination run wild. So that wraps up our little Shopkins display video. And we built a really cool single-sided display. And I showed you how to make the double-sided display. And they're not really that hard. You can use, I think the double-sided tape works the best. If you wanted to use the glue gun, you could use that too. And just have a really great time and a lot of fun making it. And you can decorate them however you'd like. And remember, you can find the shopping list PDFs in the description of this video. And don't forget to check out me and my kids' super awesome large Shopkins display tutorial. And all of these techniques will work for building the large Shopkins display as well as these smaller little displays. So I hope you liked this tutorial and found it useful. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions about supplies or any of the processes I showed you. And I can't wait to see some of your Shopkins displays in the future. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you later.